Okay, excellent. So we'll just start with some housekeeping. Are the slides visible? Okay. Again, you can chat to me. You can use the chat to chat to each other. If you don't want your video in the recording, keep yourself off, and just if you could stay unmuted unless we ask you to unmute yourselves. Okay, great. All right, so I'd like to begin with the acknowledgement of traditional owners. And today we're going to use Uncle Cheg's video to do that for us. So hopefully this is going to work.
QUT acknowledges the First Nations owners of the lands on where we gather today and pay our respects to the elders, laws, customs and creation spirits of this country. For thousands of years, the First Nations owners have gathered to share their knowledge and stories. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and acknowledge the important role they play within our communities. We recognise their long and continuing connection to country, the lands, winds and waters throughout Australia. We recognise that these lands have always been places of teaching, researching and learning.
Yes, wonderful. And as research students, I think that's a powerful message. All right, so let's continue. All right, so I can see some names here, and I'm familiar with a few of these names, and I guess by now most of you know that the way Kerry and I run HDR writing support is we have workshops and we have writing circles. So workshops, today's a workshop, and basically there's a lot of me speaking, and I'll be talking a lot about theory and principles, and it's of a particular area. And today our workshop is on trade secrets. In every workshop, we include a peer discussion because we are trying to create a community of practice for the HDR cohort, and having an opportunity to meet your peers, have a little chat, I think it's wonderful for your journey, and it stops that isolation. So we will be doing that later on. I'll put you in some breakout rooms to meet. If you don't feel like it, if you're in your pajamas, and that's fine, you can stay in the lobby. But if you are able, I think it's a great opportunity for you to meet others. Both workshops and writing circles are recorded and on the HDR Student Blackboard site. And just to let you know, the writing circles, we try to use exemplars, and they're more practical circles. So that's the difference between the two. All right, so trade secrets for HDR students. As I mentioned, today is all about providing you with secrets to have a successful HDR journey. I'm going to break it up into various tools, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. And I guess really one of the purposes for this workshop is just to reduce any fear or anxiety that you may have, maybe even to normalize some of the anxiety so that you can cope with the journey. So I thought it might be nice, we have 26 people here, it might be nice if you all just quickly in the chat, let me know, what stage are you up to? How many people here are just starting out? Are you at the end? Just let us know in the chat. Okay, just starting out part-time. 2 months in, first year. Oh, second year full-time. Second year full-time, confirmation. Oh, okay, good. A year part-time, approaching confirmation. Heading towards the last 6 months of full-time. Hey, Legion. Okay, excellent. So we do actually have a variety of stages. Quite a few people are at the start. Sabine's first year, MPhil part-time, first year. Okay, good. So hopefully a lot of today will really benefit you. And during the breakout room, you will have the opportunity to meet others, and hopefully we'll all be able to share other trade secrets that you may have. Hi, Delushi. I know so many of these names. Third year full time. Goodness, you're almost done. I also thought it might be nice if you could just make a little note somewhere. If there's a trade secret that I failed to mention, maybe you can add it to the chat later or tell us at the end. And then, you know, I can add it to the next iteration of this workshop. All right, so here we go. This is how we've divided the session. So I'm going to start with the writing trade secrets. And I guess, as you all know, well, and if you don't know, I am a language and learning educator with the GRED team. So basically, academic writing is what I do. It's my bread and butter. So this is, I've created, there's quite a big chunk in this section just because this is what I do. Then we'll have an opportunity to have peer discussion, and it'll just be 10 minutes in the breakout room. And we'll follow on with communication trade secrets, mindset trade secrets, and skill set trade secrets. So these are all, this is how I've formatted the session for today. All right, so here we go, writing trade secrets. I guess the first secret is that when you write and you've all finished your undergrads, it's different writing. Writing as an HCR student means you need to write like a researcher. So basically, I have these little points here. As a researcher, you're becoming an expert in your field. You will ultimately be the expert in your field. That requires a depth of knowledge. And really importantly, you need to have a critical voice. And I think this is where a lot of students falter. They describe too much, but what you need to remember is you need to have that critical voice in your writing. You need to critically engage with the literature. So you're not just like engaging with the literature, you're investigating, you're critically engaging with it. Also, you don't simply express your own ideas, but you do as a response to what others have said. And ultimately, you're contributing to the literature. You're joining in that conversation. And I guess the main goal is that you are advancing and contributing to new knowledge. I use this slide quite a bit, but I think it's really important to remind yourself that I'm the expert, and my job when I write is to show people I have that authoritative knowledge. Something else that's really important is to know your audience. So the good news is the only people who carefully read a given thesis are your supervisors, the examiners, and an otherwise select audience of specialized academics. Of course, there's your family and your neighbor and your favorite aunt as well, who will probably listen to you rave on and on about your research. But the truth is, we need to impress the examiners. They play an explicit gatekeeping role and they mark the standards of the thesis, which is why my secret for you is to read the thesis examination guidelines. So I'm actually going to put it into the chat for you now. So that's a link to the guidelines. These slides will be accessible after the workshop. I'll send them out to you. We have lots of clickable links in the slides, and there's lots of information. I'm not going to add too many throughout the workshop today because they can be distracting, but don't worry, there will be a follow-up email with all of the links and documents for you. So coming back to the guidelines, these are what examiners follow. And so it's important for you to know what the examiners are going to look at when they examine your thesis. I've got number one. So this is for both PhD and masters. The number one point is the main purpose of graduate research study at QUT is to encourage independence and originality of thought in the quest for new knowledge. And I think you always need to keep that in your mind, and you always need to show how you have contributed, you found the gap, and you're disseminating that knowledge to your audience and your examiners. More advice for you based on what examiners do is written by Clinton Golding. Sorry, there we go, Clinton Golding. So he wrote a book, Advice for Writing a Thesis. There's 10 points here. I won't read them because I'm going to do a lot of talking today, but I'll ask you to have a quick look at them. And again, these slides will be made available after. And in some of the other workshops and writing circles that I do focus on particular numbers. So make sure you come along to all the other events, and we'll focus on these 10 points individually. All right, next. I think it's also really important for you to remember that reading and writing go together. So that means the writing process must involve reading, and the reading process involves writing. I want to also remind you that not all published writing is good. You can use your own judgment on what you like, and then you can use it in your own writing. So I think this is also from, actually this is from ThinkWell. ThinkWell is a really great resource for HDR students. So ThinkWell website says you must be reading and writing, not reading or writing. And I think this is really important. So you read as a writer. So as you're reading and you think, oh, this is a great article. I love this style here. And oh, that's a great structure to this paragraph. So as you're doing that, you emulate it in your own writing. So you're reading as a writer, but conversely, you're writing as a reader. Okay. So when you're writing, you need to imagine if the reader can understand what you're saying. Okay, so it's really important to both read as a writer and write as a reader. I talk about that soon, actually, how important it is to always consider your reader. Okay, so read some more. It actually will help your writing. And I think something that sometimes students forget is to actually find a book. There are so many books. I have a list here for you. This is just a very small list. Find books on academic writing. Obviously, it's not an exhaustive list, and read it and learn. But really, you can come along to Kerry and my writing support offerings because we really do focus on so much. Okay. I also think when you're searching, we have it's called the chemistry of scholarly search, and we follow these 3 R's. So you need to find literature that's recent, it's relevant, and reliable. Obviously, the pace of innovations and developments that take place across all of the disciplines, there's a huge volume of scholarly papers. So it's really important that you search for and select the most recent, the most relevant, and the most reliable articles for your particular research project, okay? So they're the 3 R's. And we can do that with a vertical search, with a horizontal search as well. But I'm only skimming how to use academic search engines here. Really, actually this morning, I even went and met my own library liaison. These people are amazing with knowledge about databases. The QT library database is amazing as well. Don't be fearful of using these. They are amazing platforms, and they can help you get that, that recent, relevant and reliable research. So make sure you contact your library liaison and get them to sit with you and work out these databases. Can I just see in the chat, has anybody ever been to a library liaison? Have you got some good stories there? Have they helped you? Yeah, fair and not yet. Honestly, it's such a useful resource to go to. The poor library liaison's going to get inundated now. Okay, I'm glad to see. Yeah, they help with the SETAIRS program, the systematic review, and they ordered books. Fantastic. So they really are a wonderful resource for HDR students. So please make sure you use them. Thank you to Ola for putting the link in earlier for the ThinkWell. This is also taken from ThinkWell. And it's basically what you do as you're reading, critically reading. They have these example questions here, and you can, it prompts you, these sorts of questions prompt you to really consider, how you can use this argument in your paper and in your research. So something simple like this is something that you can use. You sit it down in front of you, and as you read, just take some notes as well. I'm not sure about requesting books. I think you can do that yourselves through the library website. But once again, make contact with your library liaison in your faculty and your school. And yeah, they're very helpful. Okay, so as I mentioned before, it's really important to remember your reader. And can you see here, I've actually, on the neck of the girl here, I've actually put a little tattoo. I don't know if you can notice that, it's a little tattoo of a book. And I did that because I say this so often that I want to put a tattoo on my head. Don't forget your reader. Are you thinking about your reader? Because what happens when I meet, so I sometimes meet students in a one-to-one capacity. And when I meet them and they're showing me their writing, so often they say to me, "Oh, Tasha, before you read this, I'll just give you some context. Blah, 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 blah." And they give me all this context, and then I read it. And I say to them, you need to tell the reader that instead of you assuming they understand, okay? So it's really important that you provide all the context to your reader. So you need to continually do that as well. You need to remind your reader, what is your aim? Why your research is important? That's showing the value of your research. You need to continually do that throughout your massive document, okay? If you're doing a monograph or if you're doing thesis by publication, you need to continually remind your reader, not every second page, but definitely every chapter. Tell your reader, why is it important? Who's it important for? Who are the stakeholders? Who's going to benefit? And ultimately, why are you doing this research? Why they should care about it, okay? Also, when we're thinking about our reader, you need to remember that readers want predictability, they want transparency, and you can do that with subheadings. You can do that with mini chapters in your mini introductory paragraphs at the start of every chapter, and a little summarizing paragraph at the conclusion of every chapter. So these are ways that you can keep your reader involved with your research, okay? And that little number 4 there, that refers back to that list I told you about earlier, Clinton Golding. This is examiners read a thesis as an academic reader and as a normal reader. So it's really important that you guide your reader throughout. Okay. I also suggest watch videos. We all watch YouTube for everything in our life. There's lots of videos as well for us, for students. So there's a couple here that I've put in. This is there are links here to some YouTube videos by Associate Professor Robin Mays. She's with School of Management here at QUT, and she's got some really great advice on reading to improve your own writing. There's another one. This is, I've got a couple of links here, how to write the implication section of research writing. And these are just examples that you can put anything into YouTube and it's amazing what you'll find. So if you don't feel like reading and you just want to have a break for a while, go to YouTube and see if you can find some really great videos to help you. And again, if you're sitting out there and thinking, oh, I just watched a great video, keep it down or find the link, send it through to us or send it through to me, because I really like to improve on my workshops as I, for next iterations. Okay. Really, really importantly as well, another great secret is to use exemplars. So I should tell you as well that I also facilitate workshops for your supervisors, and I say to your supervisors, you need exemplars for your students, because exemplars can help you with your word choices. They can significantly improve your writing, and also they can actually show you what's good and what's not good. Sometimes exemplars show you poor style, And they also can highlight quality work, okay? And I think ultimately the best reason to use exemplars for me is they can reduce my anxiety, because if I see what other people have done or how to do it, it just gives me that confidence for me and how I should go about it. So there's a good quote here. Analyzing exemplars enables students to recognize the characteristics of quality work and acquire some of the tacit knowledge of the connoisseur. Okay, so ask your supervisors for exemplars, and when you do that, be specific. Say to them, I'm doing my methodology chapter at the moment. I'd really like some information on methodology. And you could say, do you have an example of a good chapter? And then hopefully they'll have a bank there for you. You can also find them yourselves. And this is our thesis repository, QUT ePrints. Really easy for you to go and find that. Thank you. Ola's just put the link for it. Search for it yourself. And there's a more detailed search here. So you just click on that. You can, if you don't know a title or an author, you can just put in some keywords and it'll help you. I also dare you to have a look at your supervisor's thesis. And I often ask students in workshops like these if you have ever read your supervisor's thesis. So I think I'll do that again. Let me know in the chat if you have never read your own supervisor's thesis. Penny saying no, Catherine not yet. Legion hasn't. Reading their papers is good, Farron. How to scan. Oh, there's so many no's. Okay, so that's my dare to you today. Go and check out your supervisor's thesis. Some of them laugh and say that they're a dinosaur, it's so old, but I think it's still a good idea to go and have a look. And please go to QUT ePrints, have a look. It honestly will make you feel so much better. Oh, so this is my slide. As I mentioned earlier, ask your supervisors for thesis with, recommend a chapter, which section, what are they recommending? Is it the organization? Is it the content? And I say this to your supervisors as well. Don't just have a bank, have examples for different reasons and tell your students why. I mean, they can even show poor style, as I mentioned. All right, let's go to the next secret. Check your sentence length. This is something that I find common amongst students. Is I see sometimes when I read a paragraph, just looking at my hands here, if I read a paragraph, it's this big, the first sentence takes up half the paragraph. It's like 7 lines long. It does not need to be so long. I went to a workshop where Professor Inga Newburn, she's the author of The Thesis Whisperer. Oh, Ola's just, thank you. Please go and check out the site of The Thesis Whisperer. It's amazing. There's so much for you to enjoy. So Inga suggested that a sentence should be no longer than 50 words. So I'm not going to say to you 50 or 60, but it's a good idea for you to maybe have a look. How many words have I got in that sentence? And what you can do if you have a really long sentence is cut it in half. It's actually that simple. What you do is you read your sentence. When you're trying to take a pause in your breath, that's probably the part where you just need to put a full stop. Okay. And it's honestly that simple. Just start a new sentence. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Lots and lots of information today. I think it's really important as well to know that using tables, diagrams, and dot points, they can also engage your reader. You need to have them, you need to follow the referencing guidelines, like APA referencing guidelines, for example, but they can really support you. And again, if you look at exemplars and see how other people have designed their chapters, they are ways that you can improve your writing. So Tables, figures, diagrams, and dot points can be used as evidence to support your academic argument. But remember, you need to have a purpose for them. Sometimes people put in a table or a diagram, but there's no purpose. They just throw it in there. Make sure that you reference it correctly. And yes, it needs to be purposeful. Okay, so this is the big one. And I have Kerry and I, Dr. Kerry Freeman, my colleague in HDR Writing Support, we have writing circles on cohesion and coherence. And we try to differentiate between them. They're very similar, but cohesion is that sentence to sentence connectivity. And I do the writing circle on that. Whereas coherence is more like that macro level where you have that thread throughout your entire document. Okay, you need this in your writing. I'm going to talk about it briefly today because, as I mentioned, we have entire writing circles for this very topic. So, cohesion in paragraphs. I've got a hamburger here, and for those people who come to all my events, sorry if I'm repeating myself, we have a top bun, which is our topic sentence, and this is where you engage your reader, and this is where you use your expert voice telling the reader what to expect in this paragraph. And remember, the paragraph has one idea, okay, one topic. And then the middle part of the hamburger is where you have all your wonderful evidence and supporting literature that you've synthesized and critically analyzed as well. And then you end with the relevance. How is this relevant to your research? Who are the stakeholders who will benefit from all of this knowledge? Okay, so it doesn't need to be every single paragraph that you have a relevance at the bottom, but definitely throughout your chapters, you need to have that, the so what, why is this important? In my writing circle on cohesion, I have a whole checklist. And you can see here your topic sentences, your supporting sentences, your concluding sentence, and all the cohesive devices. If you're interested in learning how to make a cohesive paragraph, come along to the cohesion workshop writing circle. I've also created this little handout, which I will attach to a follow-up email. And it basically just helps you organize your sections. Sometimes I see sections that have, you know, let's say section 3.1, and I look down and there's 10 paragraphs after it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of paragraphs. So I need to make sure that they're all, or you as the writer need to make sure that they're all organized and connected. And this document can help you do that. And we'll be talking about subheadings in a moment, which can assist you too. So yes, please check out this document in the follow-up email. So then we have coherence in chapters. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a good idea to have a little introductory section at the start of your chapter, just telling the reader, this is what's going to happen, and this is the bring in your research aim and so forth. Would everyone just like to let me know in the chat, do you have a little introductory paragraph in your chapters? And do you have a little summary paragraph in your chapters? Okay, good. Excellent. And well, I'm so impressed. Good. I think a lot of people, Catherine, the reason that I encourage this is because it really does engage your reader, and it tells them what's happening and what they're going to expect, and be consistent. If you have a little summary paragraph, don't call it a conclusion, because the conclusion is a chapter unto itself. It's a summary of that chapter. If you put a link in that summary to the next what's going to be in the next chapter, then you need to do that for every summary paragraph in all of your chapters. Be consistent in your style. But I think this is a great way to refer back to your research question, your research aim, remind the reader, why is your research valuable? Okay, so I think it's a great way to keep that coherence. Hemanthi saying this, her supervisors always ask to have the intro and summary in all chapters, and I also think it's a good practice. Great, thanks for all of your input there. Okay, so basically, sorry to make you hungry, but that's what your chapters need to look like. Lots of little mini paragraphs, because they're the building blocks of your entire document. So as I mentioned earlier, we can use subheadings. Subheadings can help create that coherence as well, because they represent key concepts and they support ideas in your chapter. They can act as a signpost. Like I know when I'm reading a student's document, I see a subheading, I think, okay, great. It's like a little pause in a play, and I read it, and then, oh, okay, so now we're going to talk about this, and then I read it. So they're that signpost for me. They can also break up too many paragraphs. So as I mentioned, if you have 10 paragraphs and then just keep going, it might be an idea to somewhere have another little subheading, especially if you've gone off topic or gone on to another topic, okay? Subheadings are a really great guide for the reader and for you as the writer. And they also show the reader what you deem to be important, okay? Because they're showing that level of importance. I'd also like to remind you to go make sure that your subheadings connect to your table of contents always. Keep updating your table of contents. Okay, so there's also a checklist for coherent chapters. Have that introductory paragraph, use subheadings, have a logical, coherent development to your argument. Your paragraphs need to flow, and you have that summary paragraph. And again, if you like, a link to the next chapter. Okay, what's our next secret? Oh, unlearn bad writing habits. I'm really sorry. I actually forgot to finish this slide. Oh no. So I basically wanted to show you examples of bad habits. And one of them is using words like very and highly. We don't need to repeat. I have a really great workshop on academic vocabulary, but I think I added this to today's workshop because I meet so many students. Who, you know, they write for blogs and they've done so much writing in their life, but they've learned to do things like start sentences with and, or have contractions in their writing, and they have so many habits, or adding like, and, you know, just punctuation, things that aren't academic writing. So it's okay to step away and realize, wow, I do that so often, or I always write, in fact, or I have a look at your writing. Actually, the word this and the word it, they can be very confusing for a reader. So have a look. Do you continually do that? Do you have any bad writing habits that you need to improve on? Hamanthi, I'm not sure, but if you go to the research students page, you can find all of the information. Okay, the next, really important, is to write regularly. You know, writing is inevitable for all of you. You have to write. So why not do it early and do it often? So we talk about snack writing or binge writing. I think I'm a bit of a binge writing person. I just sit and do it all. There's a psychologist and educational researcher called Robert Boyce, and he has a book, Professors as Writers, a self-help guide to productive writing. He recommends writing regularly means you'll be writing more productively, painlessly, and successfully. And at QT here, we have weekly HDR lounges. I see Legion out there today. Legion comes to my lounges every week, and we use the Pomodoro timer, and we sit there and we write, and you do it in the company of your peers. Please come along to these, or don't forget, put the Pomodoro timer on yourself at home, and then you can sit there and do this snack writing often. Okay, it's really important that you remember, write early and write often. We also have writing retreats. There's one coming up in October, and it's a half-day writing retreat. Again, we use these timed writing sprints using the Pomodoro timer. It's an opportunity for you to actually write. You're not sharing your writing, you're just sitting there and you're writing, but you also have an opportunity to connect with others. And we do that in the lounge as well. The lounge is also a place to improve your well-being, your mental well-being. And Ola will be talking about that with you shortly. And yeah, it's a great idea to come along. In the retreat, I'm the facilitator of this, and I'll be also working through some activities on academic writing principles. Oh, thank you so much. I was putting in all the links for us. Okay. Okay, the next secret is to proofread. When you proofread, you need to check for the common thread in each section. And let me just quickly tell you, we have a whole workshop dedicated to proofreading, but I think it's a good secret. So that's why I'm including it today. When you're looking at your, in your paragraphs, your sections and your chapters, you need to follow a logical flow. You need to provide evidence of the value of your research in every section and every chapter. I really need to stress that, because this is a common comment by examiners. They will say, oh, you know, the student has failed to show the value. Why is their research important? How have they contributed to knowledge? Okay. I also want to stress that proofreading, it's not the final part. You need to do it always, constantly. It's really integral. So set aside some time in your diary to do some proofreading. All right, so that brings me to the part where we have a little opportunity to meet. So I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms. Again, you don't have to go if you don't want to. Please stick around because we've got a lot more for you. We're just going to do 10 minutes in the breakout room. And I thought I'd just ask you to introduce yourselves, explain your research in a few sentences. For all the newbies here, people will continually ask you, what's your research? What are you studying? What are you writing on? You need to have a succinct answer prepared, okay? And the more often you say to someone, have a couple of sentences ready to explain your research topic. And then I guess the biggest conversation point is, do you have any HDR trade secret that you can share? Okay, so we'll just do this for 10 minutes and then let's just put it in again into the chat. If you're in a shared space, you can maybe type instead of talking, but it's up to you. So it's now 1:40, so we'll be back at 1:50. All right. So please accept this and I'll see you guys soon. If I suddenly move you, it's because I need to put you in another room, so please be patient. All right, excellent. As I just said, as you're all coming back in, these are the opportunities where you meet your peers, share emails, make plans to meet each other, go write together, have those contacts, because it's important to have that support throughout your journey. All right, well, I'm not going to ask you your trade secrets, because we'll leave that till the end. And if you'll allow me, we'll move on to the communication trade secrets. So I think the next one, please remember this one. When you leave today, remember this one. When you start an HDR degree, I think most people assume, oh, I've got this great supervisor. They're going to take care of me. They're going to help me so much. Well, in fact, it's the opposite is true as well. It's your job. You need to keep up the maintenance and you need to care for your supervisor. And I think most of you know your supervisors are busy. Everyone will say, oh, my supervisor's so busy, you know, I can't see them. Everyone's supervisor is busy, which is why you need to take care of your relationship. You need to talk to your supervisors regularly, honestly, quickly, and specifically. I have a great workshop on how to manage and respond to feedback from your supervisors. So I talk more about that in that workshop. I don't know if you've heard of the term managing up, but it's a skill for you to be proactive. So there's basically three things that are happening. You're anticipating a potential problem as a student. You communicate that problem and mitigate that problem. And also you say to your supervisors, okay, so these are the things, the ways we can deal with it. These are the solutions and these are my options. Don't wait for them to provide solutions and options. You need to manage up, okay? So I think that's really good advice. The way you can do that is to say, here's the problem that I foresee coming. Here are the actions I've taken to mitigate that. Here are the solutions I propose to fix it. And here's how we can keep it from happening in the future. And this may be in a lab or in any context. So your job, anticipate, mitigate, communicate, and solve. Do not wait for your supervisors to do that. Okay, so I think that's a really great secret. I also want to remind you that it's not just up to your supervisor to give feedback. Feedback is not just information giving. It's a two-way communicative process. And thank you to Ola for putting the link into that workshop. So feedback is not just teacher talk, teacher commentary. Feedback is how you generate, how you make sense of, and how you use that feedback for ongoing improvement. When you read literature on feedback, they talk about a feedback agent, an active feedback agent. That's you. You're the active feedback agent. You don't sit around and wait for your supervisor to follow up. That's your job. You need to uptake the feedback and deal with it. It's not a product, it's a process, and it is driven by you, okay? And remember again, you can help your supervisors give the feedback you want. Feedback is so important because it is the most powerful single influence on achievement, okay? And I explain that to your supervisors as well. I have a dedicated workshop on feedback, and I say to them, the way you provide feedback can really impact on your student. Coming back to ThinkWell, they have this great feedback hierarchy. And I explain this in my workshop, and I explain it to your supervisors. There's different types of feedback. Right at level 1, you've got your spelling and your grammar, and absolutely your supervisors do not need to give you any feedback on that because that's your job. Then you have the paragraphs, and then you have the structure and flow. At level 4, you're engaging with literature and you're showing your argument is coherent. And then we have the presentation of evidence. And then at the very top of the hierarchy, it's where you are contributing to theory and knowledge, okay? You ask your supervisor, you know, for the feedback. If you want feedback on level 5, you say to them, in this section, can you please see, have I analyzed the evidence well? Have I presented it? Is there literature? Is there an area that I'm lacking? Is there other literature that you would suggest? So, okay, you ask for the feedback that you want. Okay, so once again, come along to another workshop and we'll go into that in great detail. There's also this meeting guide. It's very simple, but it's something that you can use in your meetings with your supervisors. Take notes. Don't forget anything. I actually take my computer as well. You can take your computer. If you're scared, you don't understand something, I want you to be brave and ask that clarifying question, okay? Be brave. Can you please clarify that? And always send a follow-up email. So in the email, you say to your supervisor, this is what I understood from the meeting, and this is what I'm going to do until the next meeting, okay? So this is a way for you to have that care and maintenance of your supervisor. Really important. It's also important to build networks and connections, which is what you're doing here today. We also have the reason is because it can facilitate information sharing. And I've had people come along to my lounges before and they've connected and they've had similar topics or and they share information. It's a really great way to have that community of practice ongoing. Also, you can identify new research opportunities and you can enhance your understanding of the developments and innovations taking place in your field. At QUT, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we have a graduate research student online network. I think Ola will put that into the chat. So this is a place where you can chat to each other as well. I don't know if anyone out there actually uses that already, but it is another way for you to create networks. Come along to the lounge again. We have those opportunities to talk. My colleague, Kerry Freeman, she has peer feedback sessions. And this is also people come to this on an ongoing basis. So you create relationships and friendships as well. All right, so the next secret is learning how to promote your research. You know, you just went into that breakout room. Was that difficult for you to tell someone, a stranger, in a few sentences, what your research is? It's something that you need to perfect. You need to get to be good at that. You can promote your research by joining the writing circle. We have a writing circle on presenting your thesis. There's also a 3-minute thesis competition or our graduate showcase. And there's also the visualize your thesis. So I'd like to tell you about our upcoming student showcase. It's on the 15th of September. Ola's going to put in a link for you to register for that. This is where QUT students, they've gone through all their faculty, what's the word? They've gone through all their faculty competitions and they've made it. They've made it to the final. And so they're going to come along and they're going to celebrate their research. And they do this in 3 minutes, a 3-minute thesis. So it's a wonderful event. Gret is in charge of that. And we warmly welcome you to come along to that. All right, so that's the communication trade secrets. And now we're moving on to the mindset. Really, really important as well in this journey. I want you to know that you have to control the controllables. I've got a really simple circle here. The things you can control, know what they are. For example, what time we get up in the morning, how we respond to others, okay? We also need to think of the things that we can influence. The way you have your relationship with your supervisors, with your colleagues, with the people you share an office with, okay? Think about those things that you can influence and separate them from the things that you can't control. That will help reduce any anxiety or frustration that you may have. No, it's something I can't control. For example, government policy on research funding. You can't control that. You can't control university hierarchy. So just know I can't control that, but this is what I can control. Okay, so I think this is a simple diagram, but I think it's powerful. I'd also like to tell you about how you can change your mindset. So we often hear about fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. My children often talk about this, and I want to stress to you today that we need to have a growth mindset. So I have a short information here. So people with a fixed mindset assume that intelligence, ability, and potential, they're fixed. That you are born with a particular level of intelligence and you're not going to get any smarter. You're also born with a particular level of ability and that you can't have more than what you're born with. So people with a fixed mindset, they don't like making mistakes. On the other hand, a growth mindset, you assume that you can develop and you can grow your intelligence. You can learn, you can practice and improve. And in fact, your potential is not fixed. And this is what I want to tell you today. Through effort and work, you can become smarter and more skilled. So people with a growth mindset use mistakes as an opportunity to learn and grow. I have this wonderful video This is from QT Supervisor. It's very short. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is from Carol Dweck, a professor of psychology at Stanford University. So her research focuses on why people succeed and how to foster success. And she refers to our mindset. Okay, let's have a look.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults.
Oh, excuse me.
But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-travelled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep travelling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
Right. It's quite amazing, isn't it? To read the fact that we can rewire our brain, but you have to work at it. And it's important for you to change the way you talk to yourself. Change your responses to a mistake. If something in the lab or something that you've written goes wrong, be kind to yourself. And I encourage you to learn and grow from any mistakes. All right. I'd also like to tell you a little secret that it's okay to change. You can change some of the stuff that you've done or that you've thought. You need to be adaptable after a milestone, after feedback. I heard a supervisor recently tell me she changed her main research question just before she submitted her entire document. Be flexible, be prepared for change, and know that it's normal. I also want to talk to you about planning and knowing that planning is important. And as Dwight Eisenhower said, I've always found that plans are useful, but are useless, but planning is indispensable. That's because things change. They don't go according to plan, but you do need to plan, okay? And be adaptable as well in case things will and do not go according to plan. All right, so another really important secret, and I don't know if all of you out there have heard of the imposter syndrome, but it's quite prevalent in the HDR space. And I think the next very short video is going to talk to you about the feelings of being an imposter and this imposter syndrome. It's just a very short video, so I hope you enjoy it again and learn what is the imposter syndrome. So here we go.
Even after writing 11 books and winning several prestigious awards, Maya Angelou couldn't escape the nagging doubt that she hadn't really earned her accomplishments. Albert Einstein experienced something similar. He described himself as an involuntary swindler whose work didn't deserve as much attention as it had received. Accomplishments at the level of Angelou's or Einstein's are rare. but their feeling of fraudulence is extremely common. Why can't so many of us shake feelings that we haven't earned our accomplishments, or that our ideas and skills aren't worthy of others' attention? Psychologist Pauline Rose Clance was the first to study this unwarranted sense of insecurity. In her work as a therapist, she noticed many of her undergraduate patients shared a concern. Though they had high grades, they didn't believe they deserved their spots at the university. Some even believed their acceptance had been an admissions error. While Clance knew these fears were unfounded, she could also remember feeling the exact same way in graduate school. She and her patients experienced something that goes by a number of names: imposter phenomenon, imposter experience, and imposter syndrome. Together with colleague Suzanne Imes, Clance first studied imposterism in female college students and faculty. Their work established pervasive feelings of fraudulence in this group. Since that first study, the same thing has been established across gender, race, age, and a huge range of occupations, though it may be more prevalent and disproportionately affect the experiences of underrepresented or disadvantaged groups. To call it a syndrome is to downplay how universal it is. It's not a disease or an abnormality, and it isn't necessarily tied to depression, anxiety, or self-esteem. Where do these feelings of fraudulence come from? People who are highly skilled or accomplished tend to think others are just as skilled. This can spiral into feelings that they don't deserve accolades and opportunities over other people. And as Angelou and Einstein experienced, there's often no threshold of accomplishment that puts these feelings to rest. Feelings of imposterism aren't restricted to highly skilled individuals either. Everyone is susceptible to a phenomenon known as pluralistic ignorance, where we each doubt ourselves privately, but believe we're alone in thinking that way because no one else voices their doubts. Since it's tough to really know how hard our peers work, how difficult they find certain tasks, or how much they doubt themselves, there's no easy way to dismiss feelings that we're less capable than the people around us. Intense feelings of imposterism can prevent people from sharing their great ideas or applying for jobs and programs where they'd excel. At least so far, the most surefire way to combat imposter syndrome is to talk about it. Many people suffering from imposter syndrome are afraid that if they ask about their performance, their fears will be confirmed. And even when they receive positive feedback, it often fails to ease feelings of fraudulence. But on the other hand, hearing that an advisor or mentor has experienced feelings of imposterism can help relieve those feelings. The same goes for peers. Even simply finding out there's a term for these feelings can be an incredible relief. Once you're aware of the phenomenon, you can combat your own imposter syndrome by collecting and revisiting positive feedback. One scientist who kept blaming herself for problems in her lab started to document the causes every time something went wrong. Eventually, she realized most of the problems came from equipment failure and came to recognize her own competence. We may never be able to banish these feelings entirely, but we can have open conversations about academic or professional challenges. With increasing awareness of how common these experiences are, perhaps we can feel freer to be frank about our feelings and build confidence in some simple truths. You have talent, you are capable, and you belong. Everyone can use a little extra kick of confidence sometimes.
Okay, so you have talent, you are capable, and you belong. If you feel, if you've ever experienced this imposter syndrome, remember those three phrases. Right, so I'm going to have a break for a moment and I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Alexandra. We call her Ola, and she's going to talk to you about an area that we're both quite passionate about, which is your mental health. So here we go to Ola.
Hello, how are you? So I will talk about to you about very important secret about your mental health. And you might be wondering why such a fuss is made about mental well-being and mental health, and why it is seen as important. Apart from the immediate benefits of feeling mentally healthy, one reason encouraging mental well-being is the positive long-term effects of good mental health, and also opposite way, the negative long-term effects which they can cause a poor mental health in the future. And research can be a stressful quest. There are deadlines and budget constraints and people to coordinate. You all know this. And even more stressful is the fact that research is naturally uncertain. You never know the result when you start your candidature. We may be hoping for a certain result that doesn't go as we planned at the beginning, and that can be stressful. That's why I think we should discuss few important tools which are here for you to help you. Developing habits for mental well-being can set you up for better management of your candidature, and also you can apply it for your personal life. Sometimes we, as Tash mentioned, there are sections which we cannot control, and we all face negative life events. We have workload issues, or we have to quickly manage our research milestones. QET offers services and support to help HDR students and researchers to manage their mental health while studying. So we have at QET free counseling services for all current students, and our counseling provides really qualified professionals, and the service is very flexible and confidential. Also, here we can find QET Medical Center and psychology and counseling clinics, and they always provide a great service, advice, and also information for researchers and HDR students. And how can we manage stress and anxiety? At times, your candidature journey can be very stressful. It's important to know how to manage it. How to manage feelings, how to, especially when they becoming recurring issues. So the trade secret here is to practice mindfulness and to find your way, your individual practice, which will help you to manage a stress level. And another thing I want to mention is that doing a high degree by research is very challenging, and it's challenging enough, but international students are often confronted with additional challenges that may include conducting research and writing a thesis in a second language. Also negotiating unfamiliar institutional policies or practices, and learning about different cultural practices and norms, and it always is stressful, and you always have to remember that when you interact with others. And what's important is you can reach for other international student services which will provide you with additional mental well-being help, and you can also find tools for any concerns which are outside of your research context. And the other thing which I want to mention here is that QET counseling often suggests that you need to put in place self-care strategies. And the great tool I will mention here is Beyond Blue. They publish wonderful self-care planning templates, which you can personalize and apply in your practice. And I really recommend you to check that template and apply for your future. And remember, there are a few steps which will help you to start strong. Get enough sleep, especially when you are so busy with your research. Exercise regularly, eat well. Also take breaks when you write or run your interviews or work in labs. Socialize. Why? Because your network is very important. It's nice to talk to your people, your support group, and just go to the cinema and have fun. The other thing which might help you is to find suitable courses where you can learn how to improve your mental health. And that's why I want to show you a few tools we already have for you. First, First of all, I will mention the Tash's great launch, HDR Writers Wellbeing Launch, because there you can write, learn, and connect. You stay healthy together, as Tash always mentioned, for mental health matters. During HDR Writers Wellbeing Launch, you write together, you reflect on your writing as well, and you can relate to other research students. And quite often, there are short breaks where you can discuss interesting topics which Tash always prepares before. So that launch can help you to connect with your peers and also distress and alleviate some of the stresses you experience during your HDR journey. Another thing which I really recommend you to look at is a mental well-being for researchers module. It's a 5 weeks eGrad School module, which is already paid by QUT, so you don't have to pay any enrollment fees. We have that module coming actually in September, and that module provides you with basic strategies to support helpful thinking habits, raise awareness of mental well-being issues, and understand where to access further help. You also learn how to apply long-term strategies for maintaining, enhancing your mental well-being, which I mentioned earlier, long-term effects, but positive effects. Next thing is I can point out at our self-paced short online modules where you don't have to wait for opening, you just access these resources in a time which suits you. And they are about resilience. We developed them during the beginning of our difficult journey through COVID, because a lot of students were lonely. They had to meet a lot of milestones, research obligations, but they had to do it online. So our resilience modules are there to help you how to understand how the stress impacts your resilience, the skills required to stay motivated and cope with changes. And the other thing which is quite great and available for researchers is regular health and wellness activities with QUT Health and Wellbeing. Right now, some of you have heard about very nice healthy and active program of being at least 15 minutes active every day. I hope some of you engage with them, but the wellness activities are really great because you can find mindfulness classes there. You can join hiking trips, dance therapy, and also we have mental health first aid training. It's a face-to-face training divided into few classes, a total of 12 hours. And it's very good to help you how you can support others if they develop any mental health problems or experiencing a worsening of the current mental health problems. It really helps in a situation of a mental health crisis and helps you to respond before a professional help is applied. So it's very interesting training. I have completed it as well. And I must say that I already applied it in my life, and it teaches you empathy for sure. And we have also some external support tools ready for you, because quite often you will be in a situation where you will think how I can help someone who I am concerned about or help myself. Occasionally someone in distress may turn to you for support and advice and referral to other sources of help, and I hope you find it helpful. Beyond Blue and other organizations offer a lot of tools and support, and also help you direct you how to have that conversation with someone you're worried about. And as I mentioned, the previous training it's a very fantastic tool to help you to make others stronger as well and ask very strong and important questions in the time they need to be asked. Another thing which you might, I hope it won't happen to you, but you might witness or came across is harassment or any difficult problems which will affect your level of how you feel safe or respectful. So any unreasonable behavior could include victimizing, intimidating, threatening you. So whether a behavior is unreasonable can depend on whether a person might see that behavior unreasonable in a particular circumstances. And the trade secret here is visit Respect and Safety at QUT to learn more about your rights and responsibilities, and also contact the right person which can help you. We have a harassment and discrimination advisor. It's a great officer which will provide you with confidentiality and will lead you through how to resolve problems. Also, you can talk to the student counselor, and there's also, we have a lot of tools how to support diverse communities with any problems. And thank you, Tash, for posting links for us. And here, I would like to go through a very quick scenarios, and I hope you can answer for us okay or not okay. But first, how do you consider bullying? What are examples of bullying? Well, for sure we will consider any aggressive behavior, or even teasing and practical jokes at work can lead to bullying. Pressuring someone to behave inappropriately, excluding someone from student activities, work-related events, also unreasonable work demands if your workload is growing unreasonably and you're not feeling safe. And let's reflect on a couple of scenarios here. So if you can post okay or not okay after we read them, it would be great. So first one, you email your supervisor on an update of your research, and it was due on Wednesday, but as you know, life happens, you send it on Friday afternoon. And you are due to start the next part of your research on Monday morning, which really didn't give much time to your supervisor. And really, you need this feedback to start the next level. Your supervisor sends you an email on Monday morning. The feedback is short, and they leave just a note reminding you to submit your work on time next time. And you feel embarrassed, and do you feel the lack of a full feedback here, this situation? Is it okay or not okay? Is it any express of harassment? You can post okay or not okay. Is it respectful? Hello? Okay, great, Fanny. Yeah, exactly. The student didn't give much time to the supervisor. He expects him to work on a weekend and review his work. Next example, you start working in a new lab, and you exchange your personal mobile numbers with your supervisor. You get on well at work and don't mind sharing your details. Over the weekend, they start to text you. The messages start off fine, but they ask to meet up outside of work. You tell them that you don't feel comfortable doing that, and you leave them on read, but they persist in asking you to meet up and start messaging that they like you a lot and think you are super cute. Would you feel comfortable with this relationship with your supervisor? Not really. Yeah, exactly. So this is just the example of scenarios which can happen. Hopefully never at QET. Yes, Rosen. Next one. Two of your lab mates are older and repeatedly make negative comments about how you are young and you don't have the experience due to your age to make good decisions about research work. Every time you have a group meeting, this comes up. You feel belittled and frustrated. They take over and tell you that they will decide the direction of the work because they are older and more capable of making good decisions. Has it ever happened to you? Is it okay? Or not okay? Not okay, Jen. Yes. Yes, exactly, Claudia and Chris. So last example, your supervisor always ignores your feedback about your research work. They don't ask your opinion in meetings and shuts you down when you offer your opinion. They leave you off important emails and out of meetings about the progress of work. When they do talk with you, they make comments about your race and how you speak with an accent. They haven't provided you with constructive feedback about your performance or research. Do you find this situation okay? Not okay. So this is the example where you find yourself in very difficult situation. You can reach the tools we shared with you and find the right person to help you and talk about it. Now, I will change the subject and we'll talk about next the trade secret, which is skill set trade secrets. And I think it's here where would be nice to talk about the thing which is close to my heart, which is improving transferable skills. And also talking about eGrad School, which I coordinate. So let's talk first and find out how we can transfer our skills into the future career. And what are these skills? So during your candidature, you learn a lot of transferable skills, and sometimes you don't even recognize them. And every HDR student learns writing communication because that's how you communicate your research, critical thinking and communicate effectively when you prepare and analyze your data and communicate to others. And also during candidature, you resolve problems systematically, you link ideas, evaluate arguments, and develop your own conclusions. These are core skills which apply to future jobs, not only in academia, but also outside. And another thing which you learn a lot, especially when you work at labs or create, even during the workshops which we have here, you collaborate with others. And I here would like to mention an important report developed during World Economic Forum in 2020. It's by the future of the title is the future of job reports. And why I'm mentioning it here is because this report reveals the 10 top skills of tomorrow, and researchers, they are the answers of tomorrow. You need to provide it, you need to have the skills to be ready to not only work at academia, but also transfer your skills to work with any NGOs, governments, industry partners, to be ready to use your skills and apply for the future. So critical thinking and problem solving they top the list of skills employers because they believe that they will grow the next 5 years. Also emerging skills is self-management and active learning, resilience, which we just discussed earlier, stress tolerance and flexibility. That's what future employees are looking for. We all have noticed that the pandemic has accelerated the trend of online training opportunities, but how can we reflect this on our research journey? Well, QT provides great online learning platform, and also currently we're talking in this workshop online. So this is the example how easily you can reach so many learning opportunities. And the other thing I want to mention is that we have a lot of flexible online modules, and the good thing about all other workshops, modules, or different forms of learning are currently covered by QUT. You don't have to pay for them. So that's the great opportunity for you to develop and think about 10 skills you need for tomorrow. Technology, resilience, reasoning, problem solving, which everything happened through your research, critical thinking, complex problem solving, and active learning, because the future employee will always look for you to follow your professional development. Still keep learning. And here, that's why I will start presenting more details about eGrad School. eGrad School was created to support the development of generic professional skills during delivering of high degree research, master by research and PhD, and just to support students during their candidature. And if you join any of our eGrad School modules, you have opportunity to articulate your transferable skills, the way that you present yourself innovation industry ready for the future employers. eGrad School module will help you to improve your transferable skills development. Also, they promote collaboration with other researchers and from not only QUT, but from other Australian universities. And also now we are extending to Pacific universities and maybe even further. You can develop your awareness of issues and themes related to internationally mobile research graduates, and also we have a big industry focus. eGrad School modules are unique because they provide that understanding of research needs, and also we offer in the indigenous perspectives and methodologies in our learning landscape. And quite often, maybe I will highlight our strength. We really provide equality and reputation with our schools because we have very experienced moderators. We put big network focus on our network opportunities with other students, and a lot of students join our LinkedIn and connect with students from Monash or Central Queensland University, JCU, University of Sunshine Coast. They create their own network and collaboration after completing the module which developed their skills. And our eGrad School modules have a broad scope of different skills. We provide a lot of different areas of development, and to help you not to get lost in between all our 20 modules now, we try to suggest to students to divide them into maybe year level. It depends on your engagement. At the beginning, we highly suggest to start with units which will get you going with your research, like project management, or explore your career potential. We help students with finding that mental well-being space and as I mentioned the module earlier. Also, a very popular module right now is global sustainability, which we open also to QUT staff and researchers. If you wish to start building up great digital skills and know how to create your research portfolio, Introduction to Coding is the answer. Tash mentioned about talking about your research, presenting your research. We have a great module run by Tash and our learning designer, Mari, presenting your research, where you learn a lot, what you should say or you shouldn't say during your presentation, how to communicate your research to others, or also where to find all the tools which will help you to make sure you respect common rights, how to make your presentation strong. Also, digital competencies will help you to digitalize your research, how to find a lot of tools which will make your digital capacity much stronger. And we have a very interesting module about transdisciplinarity, because now research is not the same. You cooperate with researchers from different research areas. You create one project, which quite often involves input of different research areas. And many of you will develop a research which will be ready to exist on the market, will be ready to be commercialized. So you will find out more information about IP and research commercializations with us as well. Also, we have module for entrepreneurship. If you have some idea how you can build your research into the future business, future ideas to sell. And I will mention now, maybe I will just mention a few comments which we receive from students, because it's always the best when students speak. Here's the few nice feedback we received from our past participants about mental well-being for researchers. This module allowed me to take the time to put me and my mental health first in my research journey. When I was reading other comments from peers, I realized that almost everyone has anxiety, stress, imposter syndrome. So I'm not too bad. I also value the inclusion of indigenous culture. And now about the module, write your journal articles in 12 weeks. The fact that it was broken down into 12 weeks made it less overwhelming and achievable. A systematic and progressive learning process makes it easy to follow. Question and answer sessions have been a fantastic venue to ask questions. Project management. I have now been employed as a project manager on 2 occasions, and going forward in my career, I would like to continue to do so. I before wanted to ensure that methods I have been employing were correct and learn additional ways to manage projects efficiently. And digital competencies for researchers. Firstly, the learning widened my knowledge in the aspect of creating and maintaining a digital identity as a researcher. I also got exposed to several digital tools that I believe will improve my competencies as a researcher. I must also acknowledge the level of interactivity on the platform. It made my module interesting for me and gave me the digital learning experience. And the last one, Introduction to Coding for Researchers. Frankly speaking, I never thought I would be able to make a web page on my own. The way your module are structured, it's just amazing. I can not only modify code as per the information on the page, but I tend to remember what I have written in the code so far. Without much effort, it is magical. And maybe we'll just now take a few minutes to listen, to watch this very short video, which I hope will help you to understand more about this iGradsku platform.
hope you enjoy it, but keep working on your CSS. You can still make changes. See you in week 3.
Hi everyone, it's Murray here, and I'm going to be giving these weekly wraps of what happened in the discussion forum during the week.
And if you would like to join us, here's the link, which Tash will post in a minute. For the last term this year, we will have 5 modules coming from 12th of September, and we will develop as I mentioned, mental well-being. We will have that module. We will explore your career potentials. Also, practice-led research is more designed for creative industry students, but we also had students from other areas, and they really enjoyed the input, how you can approach your research. Public policy is open to everyone, and it's very interesting module right now, especially when we discuss how the politics came together to fight the pandemics, and not only. And research integrity practice is very good module for anyone who already completed the research integrity OREO course, which is obligatory, because this module in here you can put in practice and study a lot of different cases, and I hope you like it. We have also students from Fiji and Pacific University engaging in this module, so it's a fantastic opportunity to collaborate as well. And so here, maybe I'll just mention one more thing, how actually our modules are structured. What do we do? So they are very flexible. It usually takes about 3-5 hours per week to read the content, engage in online discussions with other students, and then at the end of each week, our moderator will provide you with a nice wrap-up video. Also, we have question and answer sessions, usually scheduled in week 3, but some moderators do it more often if the students would like to connect more often. And also, that network opportunity is great. Each module is slightly different. The write your journal article in 12 weeks takes 12 weeks, and you also work more with your peers and conduct actually the proper peer review of an abstract or a part of the article you develop. Other modules have a duration of 5 weeks, and you have very simple quiz at the end of each week, and also engage with online discussion. And at the end of each module, you finish with certificate of completions, which you can use for your future portfolio. So thank you, and I will give you back to Tash, and it was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much, Ola. And you know, as Ola said, the certificate that you receive at the end of modules, you can even add that to your annual reports as well, and make sure you keep your supervisor in the loop and tell them that you've done these wonderful modules. I'm a big supporter of the eGrad School, and I hope that you're all able to attend. All right, so the next part is to where to look for student stuff. I really want to encourage you to use HiQ. Look at this. There's these 6 tools or 6 areas. I think we call them tiles. Have a look. There's so much information through all of these. Go and be familiar. This is under research students. Look at that. Bookmark that. Also, please bookmark your student Blackboard site. This is where today's recording will be, and all of our wonderful online resources are available there. So make sure that you go and know where to look. Okay. Another big skill set tip is to be organized. You need to use a calendar or schedule. I also suggest trick yourself, reach your milestone in advance. you have to identify what is your priority and map them, and make sure you're doing priority 1 before priority 5. I also like to say procrastinate wisely. And I think that's kind of a strange expression, but if you do not feel like writing, then go and organize your folders or go and write that email that you need to do. Just make sure you're procrastinating on writing, but do other important items. Another tip is to, if you are worrying about something and you know you have to do something, don't just bury it under the carpet. Do something about it. Face your fears, okay? And that will also have feed-on effects on your time. Again, write in short sprints and also follow up feedback quickly. This is a very simple tool again. I think this is also from ThinkWell. You can use a really simple document like this, which will help you with your time. How many words have you written? What percentage is finished? And it'll just help you organize your time. But again, some of the modules that Ola mentioned as well have lots of really great information on how to be organized as well. I'm going to show you a few tools to help you. You may be familiar with some of them, you may not. So the first one is Word has a way for you to, you go to the review and you click read aloud, and it now will read your document for you. You can also dictate to yourself on Word, and you can also transcribe. And I don't know if any of you out there knew this or have never heard of this, but it's absolutely amazing. Word has all these amazing functions. I don't know if you've ever heard of Coggle before, but this is a really great website to help you brainstorm and organize your ideas and your documents. There's something called connectedpapers.com as well. And this site will help you to find and explore other papers that are relevant to your topic. It's quite incredible, this connectedpapers.com. Don't worry, again, these slides are being sent out to you. And if you lose the chat, all of these links are clickable here in the slides. I don't know if you've heard of Mentimeter, but Mentimeter.com is a way for you to create these wonderful images in presentations and things. I see it a lot. Lots of people use Mentimeter, so it's another great tool. Please add in the chat if you know of any tools that I've missed or any tools that you use that are helping you, and I'll add them to my little weaponry here. Another secret is to prioritize. I just said that earlier. Put first things first, not second things first. Instead of checking your emails, analyze your data, write that paper. We sometimes think of it as rocks. Big rocks are the writing your paper and analyzing your data. And then you have the little rocks are where you have to do the reading of the articles and meetings that you need to make. And then you have the sand and the gravel, which are those emails and interruptions. Just know that they are in different orders of priority and make sure you address that. So Kunal has put in Obsidian. Kunal, would you like to let us know what is this tool and how do you use it?
It's essentially similar to the Connected Papers, but you can be a lot more flexible with it. In that,
okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you.
Much, yeah.
Thanks. Let's just put it in as well.
Yep.
Okay, thanks so much. So another tip I have is to learn EndNote. If you don't know EndNote or you don't know any other software programs, you need to get on top of that. I've met people who've done everything by hand, right? All manually. It's amazing. There are programs out there that can support you. I had a very kind colleague pull me aside once and said, Tasha, I'm going to teach you how to use EndNote. We sat there for 10 minutes. This is the EndNote 19 version. I think EndNote is now 20. Take the time if you haven't. Let me know in the chat if there's other software programs that you use for references. But again, the library has lots of great workshops on this as well. And I am, what's the word? A technophobe. I'm definitely scared of technology, but I use this now quite proficiently and I would be lost without it. Okay, also take responsibility. If you don't know how to do long word documenting, it's not something that you send an email to the GRC a week before or the night before your thesis is due. Can somebody please format this document? It's not our responsibility. It's your responsibility to learn that, to know how to do it, and just understand that you have to take responsibility. You need to prepare your thesis using the correct style, the correct format, check for spelling, punctuation errors. Your examiners will not be impressed by any spelling errors. Make sure your referencing is perfect. And that's what I'm saying before, you know, procrastinate wisely. Check your referencing when you don't feel like writing. You check your page setup, your headings, your subheadings. All of your table of contents need to be correct in line with your document. I have seen students hand in documents without any page numbers. Make sure you have a page number and page breaks as well. And again, it's not anybody else's job except for your own. You can go to the library for support though, because if you're similar to me, you may need that help and support, but you need to know that it's something that you have to do. I've just got a copy of the thesis requirements there, and I've put in highlight spelling, grammar, punctuation, the choice of language. You need to make sure that they're high standard. The citations, bibliography need to comply with, you know, disciplinary conventions, blah, blah, blah. You need to make sure that it's absolutely flawless. Okay, I'd also like to suggest that be strategic and start at the end. That means write your abstract, your keywords, your table of contents, all those fiddly things. You can write them now. That table of contents needs to correspond to the major divisions and the subdivisions, and you need to continually update it. Make sure that it's accurate, because you will add more subheadings as well. We're really close to the end. Don't forget, never delete. Use a system to keep track of your drafts. Set up folders, subfolders, whatever you need to do. Create that number system or the date system, whatever you do. Back up every day. I was told by my library liaison to back up my EndNote 3 places. So I do that every couple of times, every couple of days that I use EndNote. And I'm just going to finish with this little slide, which was given to us by QT's Deputy Vice Chancellor, Christopher Barner-Kowalik. He created this slide for one of his workshops, and he talks about the attributes, the research skills, and the self-management that QT HDR students and postdocs should have. I'll let you quickly look over them. They're all really connect to every secret that Ola and I have talked to you about today. Again, you will get these slides and you can take your time and read them slowly. Finally, I'm going to end by saying there's no more secrets. Unless you have any secrets that you'd like to share, please spread the word. I know there was a lot of information today, but there's so much to tell you to help you have a wonderful journey. And we really do hope that at least one or two of these resonated with you today. Ola and I would also like to thank you for coming to today's session. If you could kindly fill out a very short survey that Ola's going to put into the chat for you now. Just, I think 4 quick questions. Is that there, Ola? Oh, yes, thank you so much. So thank you for coming along. As I said, Writing Support has so many events. Tomorrow, Kerry's doing a writing circle on writing your introduction. It's probably relevant to a lot of you here today. Go and check it out. And you can go again and again, but it's all about what to do in your introduction. Next week, September 6th, there's a workshop on your lit review, also really relevant. My lounge will be next Wednesday. Come along to the lounge, and there's a peer feedback session on the 13th. All of these dates and registration links go out in your HDR Matters email as well. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for allowing us to give you all of these wonderful secrets. And we appreciate you filling out the feedback, and good luck. All the best with your HDR journey. You need grit and you need resilience, but you can do it. You run to that finishing line, and all the best. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, everyone.